In this video, I'll cover how to get gear for raids and strike missions. You can also use these methods to gear up for literally any game mode, and this is how I gear up for most of my WvW characters. I would first start off by recommending you gear up at least one power DPS class, and then one support class, whether it be Healbrand, Druid, Alacrigade, Banners, or something else useful. Maybe Heal Scourge. Also, get to know the class you're playing, and get to know the rotation. To find out what weapons, armor, runes, and sigils you need, just check out snowcrows.com, and then at the top of the website, the Raids Build tab has a drop down, and you can select from any of these classes. So for example, if we want to look at the Power Dragon Hunter, scroll down, it'll tell us exactly the stats that we need for each of the pieces of armor, weapons, and also the runes and sigils that this build recommends. And then when you scroll down, it'll give you the rotation for the class, and sometimes there are different variants that you can follow. So once you've decided what build to go by, you're going to want to pick up some Ascended Trinkets. The ones I always recommend are the Ascended ones over the exotic ones, simply because the stat difference is significantly higher in the Ascended ones as opposed to the exotic. You can see that here. If you open up the trading post, a level 80 exotic trinket with Berserker stats has 90 in power, 64 in ferocity, and 64 in precision, whereas the Red Ring of Death, which is a Berserker's Ascended ring, gives 126 power, 85 precision, and 85 ferocity. So the easiest way to get these trinkets with the Courterian stats would be to go to a Laurel merchant. For example, here's one at the Commodore's Quarter waypoint here in Lion's Arch. So when you get here, it's just, I think, yeah, right there. So southeast of the waypoint, just a few steps. And on the 2nd, 3rd, and 6th tab, you can choose from these trinkets. So like, here's all the amulets, the rings, and then the accessories. And these will be all Courterian stats. So that's like the Berserkers and stuff. But if you're looking for Harriers, which are power, healing, and concentration, for like a Druid or Healbrand or any other stat that Snow Crows recommends, but you can't find from one of these vendors, they're likely Heart of Thorns or Path of Fire stats, then you'll want to get those through the stat selectable trinkets, which I'll cover later. And if you do like World versus World, another way would be to go to, let's say, Eternal Battleground, and right by the waypoint you can get to this Laurel merchant, and pretty much the same thing. You can buy them with laurels, with the addition of badges of honor, and for this one, clops of ectoplasm. But this is another way. You know, as you can see, I have lots of badges of honor, not so many laurels, and the cost is a little lower since you do throw these badges on top. So this is a pretty good alternative if you do World v World from time to time. Next, you're going to want to get either exotic or ascended armor. So if you're just starting off and kicking off your endgame experience with some strikes, then exotics will work, but you'll eventually want to upgrade to ascended. For example, since I do World v World a lot, and I can use Ascended armor Minstrel's armor for things like strike missions, then I went ahead and got a full set of Minstrel's Ascended armor for my Firebrand. For exotic gear, you can just buy everything off the trading post if you'd like. Personally, I craft my own exotic gear for Courterian stats to save money, and for things like diviners for my Alacrigade or Harriers on Druid, I'd say get stat selectable gear. And buying things on the trading post is pretty straightforward. So if you're looking for armor, just choose whatever piece you're looking for, and then you can filter through here. For example, if we're looking for berserkers, we'd put in power, precision, and ferocity. You'd also want to go with level 80 exotic gear. So like here, there's a piece of level 80 exotic berserker gear for around 66 silver. Obviously if you want like something like this, you can if you want it for the skin, but I'd say just go for the cheaper thing, especially starting out. Then for like stat selectable gear, I'd say you'd probably be better off getting it through WvW or PvP. Mentioned those earlier, as well as Verdant Brink. For example, these are the types of armor boxes that you get from World versus World and PvP. So when you use them, you can choose from any of these. These are all three of the weight classes, so light, medium, and heavy. If you want to check it out, it's like that. All you'd have to do once you have it is right click the piece of gear. I'm just using this as an example. Click customize, and then on the right side you'd see the stats you can select from, and then just hit accept, and that's pretty much it. But for the exotic and ascended stat selectable gear, you're going to want to be careful with what you pick, because once you choose it, you can't change it unless you're changing ascended gear through the Mystic Forge. If you do go the World v World route for your stat selectable gear, you would want to play on these 4 maps, so Eternal Battleground, and then any of these 3 borderlands. The type of borderland and the name assigned to it changes depending on the servers, and basically what you're going to be working towards are pips, and each of these tiny things is a pip. You get them every 5 minutes. All you have to do is play, do things for participation, and every 5 minutes you get a certain number of pips depending on a number of things that can affect how many you get. And at the end of every bronze one, which resets every week, you'll get a Warlords Armor box. And for PvP, it's pretty much the same thing, except you do have to play ranked. The nice part is at the end of every one of these boxes, you get the Warlords Armor box, and I believe the last 2 you get 2. So yeah, and that resets, I believe, every week as well. Once you've geared up your first character for raids and strikes, you'll want to find a group to run with. It's a lot easier for strike missions if you're just starting out. I'd recommend looking for a group in LFG, or finding a guild that has people who run strikes often, or getting a group of friends together. Doing strikes will get you tons of Eternalized Shards, and some Profit Shards. The Eternalized Shards are my preferred way of getting any stat selectable ascended trinket. First thing you'd want to do is collect a bunch of these. Then go over to this vendor here at the Still Waters Speaking waypoint. Right next to the waypoint, just to the east, is this Karma vendor, and when you talk to him, you can see that he does have an accessory here that you could buy with just Eternalized Shards, but also when you click on the 3rd tab, which is the Curious Stones from Afar, you can trade these Eternalized Shards for different Living World Season 4 currencies. And there are 2 specific maps that I go to for all of my stat selectable ascended trinkets, and that is Dragonfall and Sandswept Isles. When you go over to Dragonfall, go to the Pact Command waypoint, and the first vendor you're going to want to go to is going to be south of the waypoint, so that'll be down here. Now this one sells an Ascended Amulet for 3,000 volatile magic and 125 Mistborn motes. Goodbye. The next one southwest of that same waypoint is going to have this Ascended Accessory that's also stat selectable for 4,000 volatile magic and 150 Mistborn motes. Okay, then to the west of that same waypoint, you're going to come to this volatile magic vendor, and this one has a Mistborn band for 2,000 volatile magic and 100 Mistborn motes. Then in Sandswept Isles, you're going to go over to the Atholma waypoint. Just above the waypoint, you're going to come to this volatile magic vendor, and this one has a difluorite band. You'd want to get one of each just because you can't stack 2 unique rings of the same kind. You can't have 2 Mistborn bands on at the same time. You want to have a Mistborn band and another type of Ascended ring. For the runes and the sigils, I normally buy what I can from the trading post, but there are some that you can only get through using dungeon currency. For example, there's the Superior Rune of the Monk, and you'd have to have the dungeon currency from Ascalonian Catacombs, and then the Superior Rune of the Golemancer, you'd have to do Crucible of the Eternity, and you'd use that dungeon currency. Eventually, you'll rack up enough profit shards to buy Ascended gear. Once you get enough, come to this merchant to trade the shards for the pieces that you need. There are these 3 different tabs, and each of them use different types of shards. So the red shards, blue shards, and the green ones. For the red ones, there's the Assaulter and Malicious ones. So they're power-based, condi-based, and then, you have the support healer ones, and then the weapons for the green shards. Alright, thanks for watching. If you like my videos, please remember to like and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave a comment below, as well as any requests for future videos. And I'll see you guys next time.